What's one positional upgrade every Canadian Premier League team should look at making in order to contend for that fall season title? Well, in this video, let's talk about it right here on my channel. Hi, I'm Curtis, and you're watching my channel, A.F.C. Curtis, your home for all things Canadian Premier League content right here on YouTube. So maybe consider hitting that red subscribe button and that little bell notification button so you get notified each and every week I drop a brand new episode about the CPL, just like this one. Now let's get started. Now what this video is all about essentially is one position every team should look at upgrading this coming summer. Right now actually is the summer transfer window is right now open from about July 9th to about August 7th or 8th. There is when it shuts closed for the summer until the winter off season here. So this is the only time in the middle of the season every team has a chance to go out there and sign some players to increase their chances or even possibly decrease their chances of winning the fall season title here in the Canadian Premier League. So in this video, we're going to look at one position every team needs to sign in order to be able to fully compete for that fall season title based off of what they did in the spring season. So we're going to start things off here with the team that finished last place. Number 7 there is Valor FC. The two biggest needs was to get a veteran goal-scoring presence up front, a player who can find and instinctually score goals in the final third because they struggled to do that in the spring season. And they signed one in 33-year-old Italian striker Michele Paolucci, and with that, on top of that, they also signed a guy that can replace Josep Golubar as a holding midfielder, veteran presence too, and Spanish midfielder Jose Galan. So I think those are two massive signings, kind of filled the two big needs that they had coming into the fall season, for me at least. They also needed a big 2-week break for rest, and perfect, they got that right in the first half of July here. So they should be all well rested for the fall season, and plus those two big signings is huge and great for them. Their next big need to fill right now, I think, is a center back position. With Golubar out for the rest of the year, is kind of on IR. That opens up the 23rd spot for them to sign a player. I think they should go out and target a center back to come in as a veteran, or not even really a veteran, but just as an extra body. But right now they normally roll with 3 center backs on the starting 11 quite often this season, and they only have 3 center backs signed to this entire team. So if one of them goes down with injury, the whole formation here can get thrown out of whack. So I think they should go out and sign at least a 4th center back just as a depth role here. But other than that, I think Valor FC is looking really good coming into the fall season. Now, the second worst team from the spring season here is York 9 FC. And with them, their biggest problem was goal scoring. I didn't think they scored a whole lot of goals, and that's why I ended up getting a lot of 1-1 draws or 0-0 draws. They're kind of picking up some steam at the end of the spring season, but they kind of started off the fall season now on back in that whole goal scoring needing problem there. But I don't think it's goals, or not really goals, but strikers that they need. Actually, they have 3 strikers in the top 10 in the league in shots. So shots ain't the problem. What the problem is, I think, is getting into good positions, good opportunities, good chances to score those goals and to win the games. And because of that, I think that their biggest need this summer and the transfer window has to be a creative attacking midfielder. I think they need a good midfielder in there, a good playmaker, if you will, that can set up these snipers for some good opportunities and get them in good spots so they can tag in and get some goals here. And if they can score some goals, they can immediately battle for a top 3 spot in the Canadian Premier League already. I mean, they had an incredible amount of draws in the spring season, and if they were able to score one more goal in quite a few of those matches, who knows, they could have won way more games. They could have been in contention for that spring title after all, and I think they can still do it for the fall season since it's so long. But they do need to get that creative output, that creative attacking midfielder to help set up those snipers, and I think they're good. Next up here is Pacific FC over on the island there, and I think what Pacific FC needs the most, they actually have let a lot of goals in throughout the course of the season. They've actually, I think at this point, let in the most goals on themselves. They got scored on the most this season, and I think the problem isn't really goaltending. I don't think it's even really defenders. I think the health has definitely been a huge issue for them. I mean, you lost one of your top center backs in Starro. McNaughton's out for a little bit with a bit of an injury there. And of course, you know, they got the whole thing with Marcel Dion being out the entire season, unfortunately. I think the problem though isn't really defenders or even goalkeeping, if you will. I think their biggest need is actually a good holding, veteran midfielder. I think we need a midfielder in the island there for Pacific FC in order to improve. I mean, they got a wealth of great young, exciting prospects coming up, especially in that midfielder with Campbell, Hernandez, Verhoeven. The list goes on. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, you need those veterans. You need that leadership to help guide those young players and help them get the right experience and the right playing time and learn how to do things the right way instead of just always making mistakes and maybe not always learning on those mistakes. And I think a good veteran, the holding midfielder, could definitely help them out somebody that kind of like what Valor just signed, and Jose Galán. I think a player like that type of player in his early 30s coming over, I think could do really good wonders for the team and help them and help go back and help those defenders, especially now with that back four there being as depleted as it is with injuries and with, you know, a whole experience in total. I think a holding midfielder could do wonders for them, and then once they get those healthy players coming in on that back end, I think they could start taking things off really serious and start winning some games with a good holding midfielder, veteran holding midfielder in that midfield. Other than that though, I think Pacific FC definitely needs to look at that, maybe even some goaltending down the stretch, but I think number one right now has to be a good veteran holding midfielder. All right, so now we move on to number 4, the HFX Wanderers. And with the Wanderers, who finished dead right in the middle in the spring season, I think they are very easily one of the teams, I think a dark horse that can contend still for that fall season title. As it is, they already have some really good forwards, really good fast midfielders, talented and creative midfielders, as well as some really good defenders and really good goalkeeping. I think what they could definitely though work on getting, should be getting at least, as a good veteran center back. I think a great center back coming in to help teach those young center backs that they have right now would work wonders, would do great, especially if Elton John plays more of like a defensive mid role. I think that would be great to get in a good veteran center back, and it also could help too down the line in the fall season if Peter Schala there, who's one of the starting center backs already for Halifax, if he decides to go out and go play in university come fall time and forgoes the rest of this fall season here. So once that decision comes down, which I don't think has been 100% made yet, if he does leave, they're going to need to fill that hole at the center back position, and they have really until August 8th there to fill that hole. But I think a good veteran, big, strong center back there would be fantastic for the Wanderers. Wow, so here's a team that literally went from 0 to 60 in the last 2.5 weeks or so. This is a team that now in the fall season look like they could contend for the fall season title and make an even little El Clasico championship final, which you gotta admit, it would be kind of cool to watch, see that as the first championship final. But anyway, here with FC Edmonton, I think their biggest need is to find a player, central midfielder player that can actually complement Ramon Soria. I think Soria has been their little engine that could, the guy that's the puppet master, everything, that guy that controls that team, that midfielder. He's looked fantastic this year. He's their season MVP in my books. He's looked great, but at the same time, you know, he is in his 30s. He might not be able to play. If you gotta look at the longevity of this entire 18-game spring season, he might not be able to play those full 18 games, unfortunately. You know, there could be injuries that come up. He could get injured, and I think that would really impact the team. So I think if they can go out there, and the player I think they need to pick up is a good attacking, creative type midfielder that can fill his shoes in terms of creating everything. Look at the last couple of goals through the fall season. At the end of the spring season, he was a major instrumental piece to hold that. So I think a player that can come in and work alongside Soria and then maybe eventually even replace him as that creative central midfielder would be fantastic for them to pick up. Other than that, I think the team already looks really good. The way they're playing their attacking football, they look impressive. But a player that can replace Soria or even be a complement piece to him in the long run, I think would be great. Now, the next team here is the runner-up of the spring season. That's Forge FC. And I think a big reason why they didn't end up running away with that spring season title and then didn't win it in general, and I think a big problem that really hinders them in the fall season as well as the CONCACAF League, is their defending. I think defending right now is the weakest link for Forge FC. It's kind of cost them in the past a couple of wins and a couple of games, whether it be in the championship or in just CPL regular action there, and it could cost them ultimately in the CONCACAF League come August. So I think defending is something this summer that they got to look at improving. I mean, they have Crutzen and Owandi there as their two starting center backs, who are among the most accurate passes so far here in the fall season, passing players in the fall season. But I mean, at the end of the day, they actually right now are one of the worst teams in terms of clearances out of their own end defensively, and that's a bad sign. They also don't win a whole lot of aerial battles, especially inside their own box. So I think that's something they got to improve on. They got to get a good defensive center back to come in there and start clearing those balls out so they can stop giving up those late goals that cost them points here and there, or even just wins in total. So I think they need to get a good strong center back. That's my pick as the player they need to sign for the summer. It's got to be a center back for Forge FC, and then they could potentially look at competing for the fall season title and even going far in the CONCACAF League. Alright, so we end things off with the spring season champions, Cavalry FC. And with Cavalry FC here, I think they don't really need to go crazy in terms of spending money and going out and signing somebody here in the summer transfer window here, because I think they're already the best team in the Canadian Premier League. They won the spring championship. They're one of the favorites to win the fall championship and the overall championship now. And the team does look pretty good and pretty solid from top to bottom of the lineup, through their starting 11 and through their bench and even down to the reserves. But I think if they could stand to upgrade one position here that I think will really put them over the top, I think it's the right back position. I think out of all the positions, the right back position is something that, you know, Dean Northover has been mostly playing there at the right back position. Hasn't looked too bad there. He's been, you know, really good, solid at times to most of the time, but he has kind of lately been picking up cards and getting a little bit worse. In fact, the 2 losses that they took on back in the spring season against Forge and against Pacific FC at the end of the year, both those matches he played, and both of them he probably was the worst player, or the weakest link I should say, on that starting 11 for Cavalry FC. So I think they got to look at possibly upgrading that right back position. But again, I know Northover is still a bit of a younger player, so he will develop more and more as he starts playing in that starting 11 right back full-time role type position there. So I think he will improve over time, but I think if they had to go out and sign a player, it's got to be the right back position that they got to fix up. And then I think they could have a really good shot at clean sweeping everything, winning the treble this year in the Canadian Premier League, and having a good shot at the CONCACAF League next year. I really do. Now, that was my video this week, guys. Let me know, did I miss anything? Let me know down in the comment section below what your favorite Canadian Premier League team needs as an upgrade for a position for this coming fall season in order to compete for that fall season title and the overall championship at the end of the road here. So let me know down in the comment section below. Let's have a talk down there. And of course, if you like this video, make sure you give me that big old thumbs up, like button there. Click that there. And of course, if you want to see more content just like this about the Canadian Premier League, maybe consider hitting that red subscribe button and a little bell notification button that goes ding, or at least it does in my head when I click it all the time on other channels. But with that, you get notified each and every week when I drop a brand new episode just like this one. And you can also find my content over at northernstarting11.com. I have a link for that website down in the description below. You're going to want to check that out. There's a bunch of great, talented young Canadian journalists down there in that website there that cover it through articles, great articles. They got great podcasts, great vidcasts over there. So check them all out down at northernstarting11.com. Link for that, like I said, is down in the description below. Go check that out right now. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching.